All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the recap of The Fear of the Walking Dead. We are here live every week to discuss the latest episodes. You can catch our recaps anytime, available on most major podcast platforms. Get new and past episodes for free in the podcast app of your choice, including here on YouTube. For those of you joining us live today, thanks for taking time out of your evening to be here. I am your host, Tamara, and I love a good TV show and a good book. So if you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at The Recap Pods. And if you're into books, you can also find me at Shelf Addiction. Joining me is show co-host Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey Tamara, hey everyone. My name is Lisa Orban. I'm an author. I'm also the owner of Indies United Publishing House, and I love all things pop culture. So if you'd like to connect with me online, you can find me pretty much everywhere at Lisa Orban Author or at Indies United Pub.
All righty. So before we get going, we would like to remind you that we want your participation in this conversation. So if you are listening live, hit the chat, let us know you're here and feel like leaving us a comment or, comments on what we're saying or your own comments, add them and we'll try to include you. If you're catching on a replay, you can still leave a comment or you can call in by using the voicemail link in the show notes. We want to hear from you and possibly include your comments in upcoming episodes. So don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening. That helps us out a lot. If you are new to the podcast, we are laid back in our review style, right, Lisa?
Oh, absolutely, Tamara. This is a conversation, not a dissertation.
Yeah, no scene by scene breakdowns here. We jump around a lot. And of course, huge spoiler alert for everything in this universe that has been put on TV through yesterday.
Yay!
Yeah. So, wow. Are you ready to jump back into this show?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So, y'all, we, I know I tried to keep my expectations in check for this. Did you, Lisa?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd been hearing, rumors that it was actually that the season was everything the last two seasons should have been.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, people are digging it, but and maybe I'm thinking, well, this is it. They say this is going to be their last season, so they're going to really tighten it up and bring everything together. So based on this one episode we saw last night, I'm cautiously hopeful.
Okay. I like it. I'm kind of in the same boat, although at during points I was kind of feeling like, oh no, is this World Beyond 2.0? I'm like, all the kids, is it gonna be a bunch of kids?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna reserve judgment because I'm feeling like at the end of that episode it might not be that, but I guess we'll have to see.
I'm I'm going to guess based on everything that we saw this episode that they're going to spend a lot of time going back and forth. So
Between what's happening at Padre and what's happening elsewhere.
what's happening at Padre and what got them there to begin with.
Okay, because I am torn on if they're going to do a whole lot of catching us up or if they're just going to hit the ground running. Like, I know we have to find out what happened to everyone, right?
And that's why I'm saying as each character is reintroduced,
Yeah.
my guess is there's going to be a little flashback to how they're there.
Mm-hmm.
So we know from the very beginning of the episode that I am having the worst. I want to call him Moses, and I know that's not his. It's Morgan. It's Morgan. I just had this moment. I'm like, it's not Moses. No, Morgan.
Oh, goodness.
He gave up. He gave up everyone on the boats. He
did.
told them. So we know that they went and picked all of them up. All right, and we know that there were kids in there. which means that there are kids from, from the boats from the original group that has to be in Padre as well.
Or
So
somewhere.
somewhere. So
Mhm.
what happened to all those parents? What happened to all the people? What happened to, so my guess is each person is introduced, and they're going to have to do it at a fairly accelerated rate unless they're only planning on really focusing on Morgan and
Yeah,
and
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 Madison and Mo or slash
Ray, you know.
yeah,
Um but they and then they reintroduced Grace,
yeah, they did.
and I don't think Grace and Morgan are together anymore.
I know, I caught that. I'm like, "Oh, they're clearly not together anymore." I mean, they
Yeah.
don't hate each other, but they're not together.
Yeah, this is, I'm going to go with, this is not a was not a bad breakup. You know what I mean? A nasty breakup or anything. This is one of those things where they've just, with Mo gone and with everything that's happened, I think what was holding them together is no longer there.
Yeah, I
The
would
center
agree with
didn't
that.
hold.
Yeah,
You know, so
totally. I agree. Uh,
and and it does really surprise me with everything that Morgan has done. Okay, with all that he has endured, all that he has tried, the fact that he apparently gave up
we've talked
surprises
about
me.
in the past how Morgan is a very flip-floppy character, right? He really goes in
Mercurial.
cycles. Yeah. He one minute he is kumbaya, don't hurt a soul. One minute he's fight to the death. One minute he's lay down and just let whatever happen, you know?
Mm-hmm. But
He's
the fact
yeah.
that Grace apparently went along with it too.
Yeah, she
Because
did.
Grace didn't look. She was more upset about the fact that Ray was out in the world than she was about anything else.
Oh, you mean Ren?
Ren, yeah, sorry.
Yes. It's okay. I had to
Um,
get you. I'm gonna start calling her the wrong name too.
well, come on, Ray, Ren, it's close.
It is close.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I mean, away from Morgan, away from everyone else, she called Padre to have her picked up.
She did.
So, she's on board with this. So, I mean, something aside from the zombies in the swamp had had to really kick these guys into the idea that it was better for Ray or Ren to be in Padre than not.
Yeah, I mean, it seems well, there are some clues that they left us that we need to delve into, which is like the writing on the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know there's something funky there. Ren herself is remembering like that attack, at that house where, they're trying to escape and the walkers are all everywhere. Um, so yeah, maybe that was the last straw, but
Well, and I kind of have to, because I'm trying to put. So Ren is, what is she? 12.
no, I think she's like 9 or 10. Like she was like one supposedly when that all happened, right?
Well, see, that's just it. I mean, the so she's got to be at least 10. All right. Morgan said that 8 years ago she
Mhm.
helped them escape.
Mhm.
But if Ren is remembering things, she would have had to have been older than 1.
Okay, so so Forbes says, okay, it is painfully obvious that the actress is 12, not 8 like the character is supposed to be after the
Okay.
time jump. So that's what Forbes.com is saying. So I don't know where they got their numbers, but that's the number I had in my brain too, like 8 or
Well,
9
because
or
looking at her, I made the assumption
she
she was
looks
about
older.
12.
Yeah, she looks
Okay.
12.
And then so that's where I was doing my math from. I'm like, okay, if she's 12 years old and she's been there for 8 years, then she would have been about 4-ish.
Mhm.
which would have made sense at that point for her to have some memories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, that being said,
Yeah, she looked
if
way
they're saying
older.
that she was 8,
Mm-hmm.
that would make her 1. And I'm sorry, there is no way that she could remember that. I mean, there's just not. Brain development, she wouldn't, she might have a vague image, or I mean, a vague feeling, but there wouldn't be images. She'd be too young.
Yeah,
The
I agree, but I'm trying to think back. She was not speaking at all in the last season, right?
No, she
She
was a
was
baby
still an
cry.
infant. Yeah.
Now, because what I could see for in my brain, I'm going, okay, if she's 12, what makes her 4 when Morgan gave her back up? So she had 3 years with him out in the wild, and then he finally called, Padre in because he couldn't do it anymore. Now that to me would make sense. It wouldn't make any sense for me for Morgan to go through all of that, give up his people, you know, blast through that entire area to get his baby back, be all freaked out that she's crying and carrying on, take her in the middle of the woods and, because of one bad moment, nope, we're giving her up, and that's it.
So how many okay, so he said something to Madison about being out there for so long before he found, that little cabin boat thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, just based on at surface value, based on what the characters were saying, I feel like it was only a couple of weeks, maybe.
Right.
Which still, again, this is just like the writers of this show to like kind of treat us like we are kind of dumb when it
Yeah.
comes to like the numbers of things. Like that has been an ongoing thing with this whole world. Like they don't like to be clear on what is happening when. They just want us to
Right.
just go along.
Exactly. Yeah, and like I said, if Ren was closer to 4, it would make sense for her to have those, flashes of memory.
Mhm.
Because 4 is old enough to start making permanent memories.
Mhm.
1 is not.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have trauma. Don't get me wrong. There can still be trauma, and you can carry that into adulthood. But you won't have any idea why,
Right.
unless someone tells you. But her having visual memories would wouldn't be possible. Not at 1.
Yeah, I agree. And can I just say that I feel like Ren's character is too, for lack of a better word, emotional for the type of environment they were supposedly raised in.
Right.
Like she got out of there and instantly was like, family found, found, piece to the puzzle found. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute. If you are raised in a way that you're not supposed to care about parents or family, then this is like too easy.
Well, I mean, it's every child has their own personality. And it doesn't matter. I mean, unless you literally beat it out of them, and I don't get that impression um, from these kids. But I could be wrong because we're only seeing the older groups. We're not seeing the kids that are first coming in.
Right. But this is ties into what you were saying. If you were older and you had memories of your family, you had something else to hold on to, yeah, maybe. But she
Mm-hmm.
was so young, there was
Yeah.
nothing there. She's a blank slate.
Right. And so these memories that she's having, the walkers are only coming back when she's facing walkers. But again, I mean, I don't know. It does, a lot of it just doesn't make any sense. In a way, she does kind of remind me of what's her name from over in you guys are gonna have to forgive me. It's a Monday, and I am so tired.
I get
From
it.
The Last of Us. She kind of reminds me of the girl from The Last of Us, in a way. Ren does.
Hmm.
It's almost like the writers saw her on The Last of Us and went, "Ooh, role model."
Like, oh, we like how that turned out. Let's duplicate that.
Yeah, I mean, can you see that? Do you get that kind of feeling?
I can get that. Yeah, I definitely can. Um,
I mean, not exactly, uh, but I get, the angsty and the kind of bucking authority a little bit.
so maybe that's why they made her a little older than or made her look a little older than she should be, you know?
Mm, maybe, I don't know. I mean, if they want her to be 8, they really should have had, I mean, like with Judith. I mean, she was on there when she was, well, what was it, 6 or 8 when she came back, and she looked the age.
Right.
So, I mean, and I don't dislike this actress, per se, but I wasn't quite buying her performance.
Now, I wonder if it was the script, the words coming out of her mouth, or maybe it's partially that and partially her. I don't know. I've never seen this girl in anything before.
Hmm. I haven't either, not that I recall.
Yeah. I
Now,
didn't have a chance to look her up either. Maybe I can right quick, see what else she's done.
I will say, um, for all the the kind of complaining I'm doing, I'm not really complaining about the episode too much. I mean, it really, my only complaint really comes down to what we've always complained about:
Mhm.
numbers. How much time has passed? How old someone is supposed to be or was supposed to be, and how many people are we talking about? Um, it's always been a numbers thing, and I kind of understand sometimes why they try to keep it vague, but it is frustrating when you're trying to timeline this.
Right. FYI, she's been in one TV show on one episode before Fear the Walking Dead, so she is a unknown
Okay,
new actress.
gotcha.
So
I mean, she's cute enough.
she's
She's a cute
cute.
little girl.
Yeah, I mean, I like you. I have no issue with her exactly yet. I just want to see what the show ends up doing because we don't even have a full 16 episode season. We have a shorter
Right.
season.
Yeah, it's like 12, right?
Yeah, I think
Six
it's
and six.
12. Yeah,
Yeah, six
so
and six.
they're going to have to make this where we care enough about her fairly quickly. They're going to have to throw
Hmm.
some type of story at us other than her just being Mo, right?
Right.
To make us want to, because obviously she went back to pay Padre with an agenda. I'm like, oh, this girl got an agenda now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Do you
Yeah,
promise to be a good girl?
sure.
Sure. You know, that was convincing. You
Sure,
know,
I do.
I'm sorry. As a parent, I will tell you that was not a sincere okay.
Look,
Um,
you don't have to be a parent to know that. I knew that. I'm like, look at this girl just lying, bald face lying. Okay.
but the thing of it is if I can figure this out, if you can figure this out,
Yeah,
then I am pretty sure that these people who are dedicated to raising these children should have figured it out.
right.
But they're gonna accept it on face value. Idiots. Never
Yeah,
trust a
because
child.
I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some rebels in there. Like we don't know, for example, if they were only taking children under a certain age. Because like I kind of mentioned earlier, let's say you took a 7 or 8-year old, they remember their family. They may have
Yeah.
they may be doing what you want outwardly, but internally feeling something else.
Right.
So there may be a group of kids in there that kind of are under the radar, but opposed to what is happening at Padre.
Right.
Maybe she'll
Well,
have some interaction there if that happens. I don't know.
I mean, it's also possible that if they're older too, and if the parents voluntarily gave them up, and the situation was dire, that the kids could, at that point also be at an age where they would, while miss their parents, understand the decision that was made.
Right. But we know that was not happening until Morgan came on the job.
Right.
So he only took kids that were voluntarily released to him.
Hmm.
Everybody before that, we know Madison was just yanking kids.
Right. And Moore was even, or Madison is even saying, well, what does Padre think about that? Well, they don't have to know.
Right. So they don't even know what he's doing. He's just being.
Yeah, because they're sending these guys out there, but they're not really tracking them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and it doesn't even surprise me if Morgan knows he doesn't want to have any contact with, Mo anymore.
Mhm.
Why are any of them sticking around?
Yeah.
I mean, that is an awful place that they're at, truthfully. This is not that they are wandering through the swamplands.
Yeah, it's probably really gross to be honest. It's in the
Yeah.
summer, it's probably gross.
And I mean, you see all of those walkers throughout these bayous and stuff, and they're just walking by, snap, 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 snap. I don't know about you guys, but all I can think of is, it's not just. I wouldn't just even be worried about the walkers. Where are the alligators?
Oh my god, right? Like you're in that water. There's something in there. There's something else in that
Yeah.
water, ma'am. Sir.
I mean, we're talking water moccasins and,
Yeah.
alligators and snapping turtles and, I'm sorry. I would not be walking, and then on top of it, walkers. I would not be walking through that swamp. Why doesn't Morgan have a little boat?
Oh my god. But on the flip side though, I have to admit that seeing this type of environment is a nice change from like all that dust and crap from last
Yeah.
season.
Oh yeah. It is as lush as last season was barren.
Yeah. And they went polar opposite.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's a bayou, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But and I do want to know because I'm trying to remember how many kids there were um that got into the boat. I mean, there wasn't a lot, but we did get people from the tower too that there were kids.
Yeah, I have no
So
idea. I'd have to go back and watch, which by the way, side note, I have a bone to pick with AMC Plus, but
okay,
I don't like that they only have the current season on there. Did you notice that?
I did
So
not. I didn't bother to go look because I had thought about rewatching it and I'm like and I was gonna do it later this week.
yeah, I wanted to go back and watch only the finale from last season, and it wasn't there. I'm like, WTF? I'm paying for this service, and you don't even have the last season on here? That is whack. Now, I think it might be on Netflix, but guess who didn't feel like going to Netflix and looking for it? And why should I have to pay for two services for what's AMC, stuff?
Yeah.
I think that is so rude.
Well, I do know
Anyway.
that they've been moving. I don't know if they have Fear the Walking Dead on Netflix, but I know they have The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I've seen that, so I'm gonna assume Fear is on there, but
I don't know.
if it's your property, why can't you have it on Netflix and on yours? Or have some type of situation where you can at least keep the previous season? Like, that's nuts to me to have nothing but the
Right.
current season. They need to bring down the price of AMC Plus to like $4.99
Mm-hmm.
or some, you know what I mean? Because if you're only going to show us limited amount of things, then and we can't look at historical episodes, then that needs to be cheaper. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, because I know, like, especially when there's long distances between, I
Mhm.
do tend to rewatch the last season, the
Mhm.
whole season of a show I really like. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want to do that with Fear the Walking Dead because the last season really irritated me. So I
You
was just gonna go,
complained so much.
oh. But I my plan was this week I was actually gonna go watch the very last episode because I was curious about how many kids had got on those boats.
Okay. Yeah.
But um,
Maybe we'll find out.
you know,
Doubt it.
but I mean, if nothing else, I'd like to know. I'm going to assume they're going to bring in more than just Morgan
Mhm.
and Grace and Madison.
Yeah. They have to, or it's going to be one boring ass show.
Yeah, because it doesn't explain why Morgan and Grace are still hanging around and what
Mhm.
happened to everyone else because obviously they're rejecting the adults. So are they even still there? Are they, wandering around, picking up kids like Morgan is or doing repair work or, do they have another program for adults? It seems like they're putting them to work in a certain way, but I don't know.
Yeah,
And if
did you
ever,
notice the names that everyone had? Like Morgan was, I think, Nightingale,
hmm
and
no,
Madison was Lark.
she was, no, Grace was a nightingale.
Okay, what was Morgan's name then?
Mockingbird?
Mockingbird?
I don't
They had
remember.
it backwards.
I was thinking that it kind of, because, yeah, she was, yeah, doctorish. So I thought that kind of tickled me. Um, but yeah, I mean, everyone has all these code names, and are they trying to reestablish some kind of perimeter outside of the island? It seems like,
Mhm.
communication towers and this, that, and the other. And why would they want more Madison's blood?
Yes. And then when they told, Morgan that I thought his name was Nightingale. They said they were retiring him.
Yeah, maybe
And
you're
then they
right.
took him off. And I'm like, well, are they going to do to him what they were doing to Madison? Yanking blood for what? Like, what are they doing with the blood? You know what I mean? Like, there, we never got an explanation of where the hell Madison was all that time.
She's somewhere in Padre in a bunker.
But how long between the time that the whole stadium thing happened and the time she found Padre? We don't know. Has she?
No,
So,
I did hear that we were supposed to find out,
uh huh.
but I don't have any other details.
Yeah. So
So
I
I
don't
don't
know. That's
know.
going to be interesting, and they better explain the blood because if they don't, it's going to be like biggest plot hole. Like, why are you creating plot holes when you don't need to? So,
Well, and even why take in Morgan? Because
yeah,
the first thing he did is when he found them, radioed them in.
yeah.
So and then so did Grace.
And at first, they didn't even want Madison back. They were like, "Keep her. We don't want her."
Oh no, they
And
said kill
then,
her.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, they're like, "Wait, we do have a use for you after all."
Right. And then and then why did they let Grace go but not Morgan?
Yeah.
Because she knows who Grace is as well. She knows who Morgan is. Oh, we got to bring you in because, she knows who you are now and we don't want any, contact. Well, why not take Grace too?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I don't know. I mean, what she's learned, she's learned. She's met them, she can't unmeet them.
Right.
I don't know.
So,
So why take him and not her? It's strange.
well, and it does, I mean, and if they're trying to make an impression on her that she can't go back, why didn't they do that in front of her
Mhm.
instead of waiting until she was put on the boat and, leaving?
Mhm.
I don't
Hmm.
like I said, I like I'm not gonna lie, I did actually like this episode way better than any episode from last season. It was way better. But there's a lot going on, and I'm hoping what'll happen is as we roll through these next 5 episodes, they'll actually give us a decent explanation.
I know, like I'm holding hope. Like I too liked it, right? I thought it was good, but I only watched it once. Sometimes
Right.
with Walking Dead, I watched it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Not with this show. I only watched it once, but I enjoyed it. But I know with them knowing that they are planning for the end, I've got to hope that they are going to tie up some of these plot holes and fulfill us where we need it, right? Make us
Yeah.
whole.
So
Yeah.
what I'm hoping is this episode was the setup.
Right.
These are the questions. This is, the
Right.
mystery behind everything that's been happening. Now we're going to give you the rest of the story.
Right.
And if they do that, I will be absolutely okay with this episode. I'll
Yeah.
go, oh, I understand, why they're taking Madison's blood, why they want to keep, why they took Morgan, but they didn't take Grace.
What
What
happened
happened
to
to the
the
other
others?
people.
Yes.
If we get explanations for that, reasonable explanations, I'll be happy.
Mhm.
So, and that's why I said I'm cautiously hopeful because I have, I can nitpick. We can nitpick anything. Um, but if this was the setup episode, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and it did in general seem like a setup, right? Like it did
Mm-hmm.
seem like they were trying to lay the groundwork. We just had that time jump And actually, that's part of my problem with the time jump and why, we were trying to guesstimate the years is I was looking and I did rewind it 3 times. So it went from the scene Morgan like running out of that office and then Madison standing there and she's like, "There's nothing you can do to me," blah blah blah. It cuts away and then we're in present day. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I was looking for it to say 8 years later,
Right.
7 years later, whatever it is. I was waiting for that. And I'm like, wait, did I look away and didn't see it?
There was one reference, and that was when Ren and the older girl were there standing on the bank, and she's like, "Why is she in there?" Well, there's a story, and it's like,
Right.
8 years ago or 7 years, 8 years ago, and
Yes.
so I'm like, okay, that's how much time's passed. All right, good, good. And I assumed as soon as we saw her that was Mo.
But that's weird though. So if it still doesn't add up, if Ren is supposed to be 8,
Mm-hmm.
if they're right and she's 8 and Madison was taken 8 years ago, she wasn't
Or
0.
7,
She wasn't
yeah, or 7
right
years
out
ago.
the
I'm sorry.
womb. I mean, no, they're saying 8 years. They're saying 8 years.
Okay, well then she has to be at least 9. But like I said, it would make more sense if she was 12.
Or if 7, even if it's 7 years, that means she was 1 and now it's
Yeah,
8 years and now she's 8, which is maybe what we're guessing, even though, the
I don't
actress
know.
is at least 4 years older than that.
Yeah, like I said, I just made the assumption that she was 12
Yeah.
because everything in the episode indicated that she was 12 because she had some memories. They were
Mhm.
very spotty and, unreliable. But at 4 that would be about what your memories would be like. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, she's 12. It's been, it's been 8 years. She was 4, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um but if they're telling us she's 8,
Yeah.
that makes no sense.
No. And so I guess we get to see, and if you're right, and they go through tell us what's happened to her in the last 7 years through flashbacks, then I guess we're going to see maybe several different variations of Ren at different ages.
Yeah.
And I don't know how fun that could be to watch a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I really enjoyed watching Judith at that age.
I know, but she wasn't the center of the world
No,
at
she
that
wasn't.
age.
No, she wasn't. But I mean, they did have several episodes that were focused on her. Um, but I mean, the actress that played Judith was really good.
Mhm.
So, um, I don't know. I guess like I said, I don't have any true complaints other than if we don't get answers to the 18,000 questions this episode brought up, I will be
Mhm.
upset.
Mhm.
Because I don't want 1,000 questions. I want resolutions. We know
Mhm.
that this is the last season. Wrap it up nice for us.
So, I just spotted this article on EW where Ian Goldberg is being interviewed, and I guess he is the showrunner
Hmm.
for this, and he pretty much says that the purpose for the time jump was to show how much life at Padre has impacted all of our characters, quote, in
Hmm.
their way of existing in the world. So, yeah, that kind of supports them showing what happened between those times.
Hmm.
Uh, I guess.
Like I said, I think next episode will really give us a good idea of how this show is going to go.
Mhm.
If this is a setup episode, the next episode they'll start filling in the blanks.
Mhm.
And they could start anywhere, honestly. The other people being picked up, why they're taking Madison's blood, um, maybe showing Mo or Ren, when she was taken, so we can get a better idea about how old she was.
Mhm.
Um, things like that. And and obviously we're going to need to know why. I mean, here's the thing: Morgan took that place by storm. And Madison ended up in a cage getting her blood drawn every week. How come Morgan didn't end up in a cage? How did he end up being a collector? Unless I mean, obviously holding Ren over him for not doing the job, but
I
knowing
mean,
how much.
honestly, it seems like, well, from what we've been given for information at this point, obviously, it seems like Morgan was ready and willing to give Mo to them. For
Yeah,
whatever reason, he felt he couldn't protect her. So maybe the fact that he's changed his tune and agreed to, find children is what got him excused from giving blood every week. I don't
yeah.
know.
And so like I said, as long as we get answers to the those kinds of the whys of things. Why is Madison stuck in a cage? Why didn't they just let her go? She has no idea where Padre is. Not really.
Yeah.
So they could just blindfold her and drop her off in the middle of nowhere. They could
Mhm.
kill her. I mean, honestly, that was an option too. They could have just killed her. I mean, she's, because I can't imagine her blood being that important that, sustaining her, feeding her, taking care of her, providing for her is worthwhile.
And let's not forget her need for oxygen if she gets
Yeah.
riled up.
You know, so, and why Morgan was let loose before when he brought them Mo, but now is being taken in.
Mhm.
And it's not his fault that Ren escaped. He didn't go get her. He didn't, he found her once she was out and then immediately called it in and said, "Hey, I got her."
But I don't, even though he did that and he has not kind of gone against them in any way, I still feel like when they said, "Hey, we're retiring you," that's not a good thing. I think that means trouble.
Oh, yeah. I mean, retire, is a good euphemism for "we're going to kill you." But
Right.
if they were going to do that, why didn't they kill Madison?
They could have been killed her. Actually, Madison tried to kill herself
Right.
several
So
times.
yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of, like I said, as long as we start getting answers, I'll be fine. But if they leave all these things more questions than anything else, that would just be annoying.
Mhm. I agree. And although, like, I did enjoy the episode overall, there really wasn't that much going on in this episode.
No, like I said, I mostly just felt it was wandering around with Ren as she was putting pieces of her life together quite accidentally.
Mhm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Karina says that Ian and Andrew did convoluted storytelling on Once Upon a Time, and they're doing the same thing with Fear.
Hmm.
Can you at least tell us, Karina, if there was a good resolution on Once Upon a Time? Because I never watched that show.
You know what? I did watch it and I got tired of it like 2 seasons before it ended. It's
Ah,
like, what? I'm done. Yeah, I would love to know. Did you get a happy ending? Did everyone get a happily ever after on there? Or we
well, it is a
satisfied?
Once Upon a Time, so isn't that by you know dictate? It should be a
It
happy.
should be, you'd
Should
think.
be. That's how
Yeah.
story. That's how fairy tales are supposed to go. Once upon a time and happily ever after. Those are the two consistents.
I
You know.
know, unless you trying to break the rules. But if you follow the rules, absolutely. Well, there are no rules set for, I guess, for the Walking Dead universe. They do what they
Mhm.
want. But
Well, that's not helpful or
no,
hopeful, Karina. She said it started off great and then trash.
trash. No, I don't want to hear that. Oh my
Well,
god.
that fills me with hope. There we go. That was sarcasm. Um, so yeah, I guess again, next episode, I think we're going to have a better idea. Um,
Mhm.
if this was a setup episode or if this was just the beginning of the merry-go-round, the blindfolded merry-go-round they're planning on putting us on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would like to know like what because Madison was so confident in Morgan when she first got out of there. She just knew she was going to get her, Mo to Morgan and they were going to take off. She did
Mm-hmm.
not expect him to push back like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, wait, when did you have time to get to know him like that? That's
Well,
like
I mean,
David. Like, I know y'all
you do
fought.
have to. The last time she saw Morgan, I mean, you will admit that. I mean, this was a man dedicated to one course of action: getting his daughter back.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
then 7 years passed.
yeah, and I mean, in his reaction to her crying on the radio and Padre basically, well, these kids have got to learn, you know, and so there has to be some care because children that are left unattended
Mhm.
don't thrive and tend to become very sickly and die.
Mm.
Uh, there was in several orphanages in Russia and other places where they had too many kids and not enough caregivers, and they were left to fend for themselves essentially. Um, it was a bad deal. These kids got very sick. They got very weak. They were psychologically not stable, and a lot of them died.
Oh, that's sad.
So, and again, this
Mm.
wasn't done on purpose. This was just, bad
Yeah.
management, among other things, in war. Um, but yeah, I mean, if Padres using that kind of,
Hands off approach.
yeah, those kids would not be doing what they're doing. They would be very damaged. Not socialized, not, um, yeah, not in any way useful to society.
Honestly, I was thinking that they would be like some CRM level soldiers, much harder. Even the girl that was training with her, they're bartering for more training versus cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
She's helping her and she's asking, why can't you do this, any other time, So you're right. They're much nicer and softer than they should be growing up in this depend on nobody, trust nobody,
Yeah.
maybe not trust, but don't have attachments, quote unquote. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. No attachments.
Yeah.
They've created attachments with each other.
Yeah. And I mean, and if because the thing to be a healthy human, you have to have attachments. You do. People that don't have healthy attachments are sociopaths. And I
And
don't know
that's what I
about you.
expected, a bunch of
Yeah.
sociopaths.
And I don't know about you, but sociopaths are really not interested in making a better world. Because that would have to include other people. And that's not, so you have to have connections to want to do things for other people to create something together. So, I mean, perhaps I don't know if they're explaining what they're doing badly or if they have just decided, 200 years of, psychology and, observation, they're just throwing it out the window and pretending that we're not humans. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might be another one of those, just accept what we say, forget the science, forget everything, just accept what we say because they've said that more than once. Even when Mo was crying her eyes out and, Morgan's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, she needs to be comforted or whatever he said. They were, the guy was like, hey, this is great. She'll learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. So, I mean, they've expressed that this is how they are. So, I don't know. Maybe we're just
Yeah.
supposed to just accept.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I mean, there's a suspension of disbelief. That's the zombie part.
Hmm.
But for a good show with this premise, you have to be psychologically grounded in how humans would react for it to be good,
Right.
and it has to be that part has to be realistic to make the unrealistic zombie part of it be more real. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
I do.
And so if they're just asking us, no, we're changing up all the rules. It's not only are there zombies, but humans don't behave like humans anymore, and they behave however we tell you to, and just accept it. That's where the suspension of disbelief breaks down. There's only so much disbelief you can suspend without it
Hmm.
just becoming worthless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we'll have to see what they do. And like we said, they have a truncated timeline to get it all done. Uh Hopefully they've done some stellar plotting and it's going to gel, right? I
Yeah.
really do. I want it to end like really well. Because compared to The Walking Dead, I feel like The Walking Dead ended good. It
Hmm.
wasn't bad, but it could have been better
It could have
too.
been better. But honestly, I wasn't. I wasn't terribly unhappy with how it ended.
No, that's why I'm like, I didn't
And
hate it, but I feel like they could have did a little more. But
yeah, I mean, I will say I read up on how the alternate ending that they had cooked up for it,
mm-hmm.
and I will say in some ways I kind of wish they had almost gone with that one. So instead of it being Rick and Michonne and the letters they're writing through time that they've written to each other,
Mm-hmm.
there was going to be it was going to be Grace and eight RJ and all the other Judith and I can't remember the other kid. There was another younger one. There's four of them. They're in a red Corvette or they're in a red sports car driving towards Atlanta on the radio. And RJ was saying, "Is anyone out there? This is Rick Grimes."
Oh,
And Rick picks up
I
the
remember
radio
that.
and goes, "I'm here."
Oh wow, I do remember that, hearing that. But
And
so
I'm like, in some ways, I'm like, man, that really would have been cool.
I know, but how old do you think they were in that alternate ending? Like,
14 to 17
okay.
ish.
Because I'm wondering how old Herschel is in Dead City. Now we know we
Mm-hmm.
clearly know what the premise is there, and they're going to rescue him, which is what I guessed originally back
Yeah.
before we knew what the premise
Right.
was.
It was the only thing we could come up with on why those two would work together.
Exactly.
Herschel. Because, she loves Herschel and he's become, quite fond of him.
Yes. Although I am curious to see how I like or dislike how he acts as a character, because from what I understand, he has reverted back. Negan is not the more mature, softened version that he was at the
Yeah.
end of TWD. He is like reverted back to his early days of being a menace to
Yeah.
society. So
So I'm wondering if, maybe he's lost his wife and baby or, you
yeah,
know, what's happened, that she didn't survive childbirth. I mean, that's possible. Um, Having babies is, dicey at best when you're not being chased by zombies. And
absolutely.
so, I mean, that would be a good because he went that way because he lost his first wife. So if he lost the second one, that would make sense. He, goes back to the tried and true. But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. The
And
one thing that can make this show even cooler at the end is if, while even if they do give us the closure we want, but they throw something else in there for Rick at the end of this. Like somehow Morgan finds something or hears something, like give us a little bit more of a, leave us a breadcrumb or something.
do you know what I'd like to see?
Mm,
If they're going to throw us something instead of it having to do with like Rick, in this way they could take off with it. They could do nothing with it. They could do something with it. Just have a little flash forward, and it's Ren or Mo and Grace and maybe Morgan and a couple others, and you just see them like taking a couple steps up, and then it pans up, and it's Alexandria.
oh,
I mean, they could just end it right there, not with them greeting anyone, just walking up, and you see that they've left Padre behind, and they're going back to Alexandria.
that's a nice thought, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I saw that. Didn't they tear that set down? It's
Yeah,
gone.
but all yeah, but they wouldn't need the whole set. They just need the door.
Oh, I guess. I guess they could build that.
Yeah, and then they could use stock footage. Honestly, they could just use
Hmm.
stock footage from when they
I
from
guess.
the
I mean,
finale.
honestly, they could take all these kids from all these different offshoots of the show now and make their own series if they wanted to, especially if they get all on the same timeline.
Which is
Um,
there looks like they're getting towards
yeah.
with this big time jump.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's, if we do that and we see a bunch of another show with all freaking kids, it's going to be World Beyond 2.0,
Yeah,
but these kids are going to be slightly more, I think, mature in the way of life.
yeah,
um,
and like I
yeah,
said, I mean, it doesn't just like it doesn't have to be a full set. They could just have the doors of Alexandria, the sign above it, and then fade to black. So
yeah.
they wouldn't need a whole set, and I'm sure they could put those doors back up easily enough.
Mhm. Hmm.
Or again, they could just use stock footage of just painting up to the door because God knows they did years of that.
I know they can pull it from anywhere, probably any episode, probably.
Or the last episode where they were, because
Yeah.
that's what they gave us was that opening shot into Alexandria and then pans over. They could just give us that little bit right there.
Mhm. Well, I'm
And
curious to see what they do. I'm feeling good about the season. I'm feeling like, cause I think the second one is available now, isn't it?
I haven't looked. I haven't
Okay.
been. I haven't even turned my TV. I watched the episode last night, and that was the only thing I watched, and then I turned it off.
Mm.
So I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I did not look today either. So, or last night either, actually. Um, but because we never watched ahead, so I wasn't gonna watch it anyway. But if
Yeah,
it's
I
available, I
wasn't
might
either.
watch it early. Since I'm paying for AMC Plus. Ugh, that thing gonna be canceled as soon as these seasons are over. Canceling.
Okay. Well, and now the nice thing is as I understand it, as soon as these 6 episodes are done, they're rolling right into Dead City.
Which is cool. If that happens, fine. I'll keep it through Death City. But after that, no. Whenever there's a break, it's being canceled. But yeah, I think that would be cool to roll right into a new show. Actually, I think the finale of Fear is the same night as the premiere of Dead City. Now that I think about it, I think they're
It's
doing
in
a back to back type of thing.
it's in 33 days.
Yeah.
So actually, yeah, it looks like
Yeah, like one at 9 and one at 10 or whatever time
I'm
zone
looking to.
you're in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm
Mm.
looking. So here's
Okay.
days showing the
Well,
the
that
last
should be good, I think.
episode.
Okay.
But yeah, it looks like they'll just over run on top of each other.
Okay.
So
Same. I think it would be good, and I keep seeing more and more little tidbits from Dead City, so I think I'm scared to say I think I might like it better than Fear this season. It looks really good. So we'll
okay.
see, but it looks good. I'm more excited for Dead City than I was before. Oh, no. You guys, can you hear Lisa? Let me know in the text, Karina, if you're live.
Up on me, baby. You broke
Oh,
up on me.
I couldn't hear you either. Okay, are you back though? Are we back? Uh,
I don't know.
you're
Anyway,
going in and out.
you think?
What do I think about? I missed that.
Oh, at least it was at the end and not at the.
Facts.
I don't know if anyone can hear
Whenever you
me,
come back, we're
but
gonna wrap it up. You guys, this has been a fun time. We're gonna wrap up the show here because our streaming service seems to hate us right now. It's fine. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Please don't forget to leave comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you leave, and we'll catch you guys next time. We'll see you next week. Take care, guys.